And good evening. Welcome back to the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly. And I'm here because, well, my watch is really fucking slow. Because the clock on the wall should say that it's time for new comics, bitches! But it's not. It's actually old comics. Older comics. Well, not old, but it's a couple weeks old because, let's be frank, I haven't gotten all my shit together. I've started a new job, been working hard at that, and it hasn't left me a whole lot of time for this. Also, since my local store, Atomic Comics, may it rest in peace, has gone out of business, I have been getting my comics from thingsfromanotherworld.com. For those of you who subscribe to TFAW, who get your subscriptions through them, please tell me if you've had a good experience with that, because my experience has been very negative. Because I got, it literally took 8 days for my comic shipment from 2 weeks ago to get here. And I haven't even gotten last week's comics yet. So, I got my new comics late last week, and now today I'm just able to finally do those comics from 2 weeks ago. So, let's move on. Fantastic Four, number 8. That's where we're going to start today. Sorry. My mind just went. Okay, so we, first of all, yay, Steve Epting is back. Awesome. Because that is a pretty big draw for me. I've loved Steve's work ever since I first saw him doing Cap with Ed Brubaker. Fucking. Anyway. Yay, he's back and putting in some more great artwork, as always. But we get to the crux, which is, of course, the battle between, the battle at the Forever City between the Reeds of other worlds and, or other universes, and Reed and his, and of course the FF, and of course all of the supervillains, Mad Thinker, the Wizard, El Diablo, and of course Doctor Doom. And seeing Reed's dad in this is also kind of weird, but he's a cool supporting character, because he is, he's smart like Reed, but he doesn't have the same kind of moral compass as Reed does. And there's a scene between Susie and Reed in regards to the that they're kind of that he's kind of gearing up for war, and she's not sure how far that should really go, as far as war is concerned. And also, that, he's brought, he and Valeria have brought all of these supervillains to their home. So she's not too keen on that, but, Reed, kind of straightens things out, and Valeria is currently having a timeout in her room, a room that she cannot get out of until, and there's a great scene where she even tries to hack her way out of the room, but, Reed's a little bit smarter than that. But basically what we have going on here really is the siege on the Forever City begins. And you've got, moments where, the other villains are saying, well, let's kill all the Reeds. And Doctor Doom, being Doctor Doom, he says, no, don't kill all of them. leave 2 alive because they can't talk if they're dead. So this is obviously a big thing, but Attilan has come to the Forever City, and there's Black Bolt. Medusa comes along and kind of while this big battle is going on, kind of yanks Reed from. Well, he's kind of like an acting general, if you will, in this combat, and yanks him out to discuss things on Attilan, discuss what's going on. And in true supervillain team-up methodology, what do you think is going to happen when you get a bunch of villains together? You think one of them is going to turn on the other? Probably. So that's right out of the supervillain team-up playbook, but it works. This was a really, really good issue. I'm enjoying. I didn't really enjoy the last couple issues because they were just like, okay, Jonathan Hickman, you're blowing up my mind. Okay, my mind is exploding with all this information, and I don't have a grasp on it. But this is basically back down to the nitty gritty. And again, it's not against, I have nothing against high concept ideas, but it's a nice return to where I think this comic should be going, which is, a place where, okay, the FF has to deal with, these threats. And, they have to deal with them in a diligent and scientific way, but also in a, let's get our knuckles bruised way. So, again, just nice return to form, I guess, for this book. Okay, so moving on. The Punisher, number 2. Now, I've been hearing, particularly from my good friend Comic Noob, that he really didn't like the first issue of this at all. I actually really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed this issue even more. Basically, we have at the end of the first issue, Frank Castle goes in, massacres a whole bar full of scumbags, but leaves one of them alive. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, why did he leave that one guy alive? Well, duh. It's pretty obvious why he left him alive. If you leave one of them alive, one of them is going, and you let them escape, well, where are they going to go? They're going to make a beeline back to whoever hired these people, because, it's obvious that these, dickheads were not behind this, wedding day massacre. So somebody else was. And whoever is, they definitely give me the heebie-jeebies because they're creepy. We've got Nora Winters, who works for whatever the other paper is that's in New York other than the Daily Bugle. She plays Little Miss Intrepid Reporter, who goes to the Punisher's crime scene, the leftovers there. And our Morgan Freeman-esque detective, Detective Clemens, and Detective Walter Bolt are there on the scene. And, he gives her... she's trying to get the story, and he gives her some professional advice. And basically she, that kind of takes care of her for the meantime. Because Clemens is obviously, he's been around a while and he's a smart guy. So that's, it's a nice character touch, nice character moment. Now, when we get to the next, not massacre point, but, when the Punisher keeps tracking this one lone guy, this guy, Liam, he tracks him to another place, another den of iniquity, where they're lying low, and, the one kind of, the guy who runs the joint, it's basically a sex slave farm, if you will. It's where they, get the girls hooked on drugs and, manage them and then turn them out as, as prostitutes. Um, and well, it becomes apparent that you know, male or female, it doesn't really matter to Frank Castle if you're, you know, a criminal and responsible for not just the death but the destruction of innocent life. I'm not talking about the prostitutes, obviously not the sex slaves, but the people who run them. So that just, you know, it's kind of a tough moment, but it's, you know, it works. And, well, I mean, you know, the issue ends up with Frank in a whole lot of trouble as he faces off against, you know, this is, again, this seems to be kind of a return of Frank Castle to the regular Marvel universe, like it was with, you know, Punisher War Journal when Matt Fraction was doing that, as opposed to Garth Ennis's work and other subsequent you know, writers doing work on the Punisher Max series, which is a much older Frank. You know, this guy, you know, he's definitely a lot younger. Now, Marco Cicchetto, who does the art in this book, his layouts are really, to me, they're really reminiscent on some pages of the work of J.H. Williams III, who did some brilliant work on Batman, even when Grant Morrison was writing it, and also you know, was doing also worked with Greg Rucka on Batwoman, and also, you know, he wrote and did the art for you know, Batwoman's, you know, other, you know, her solo series, which was great. I love Batwoman. I'm loving that he's coming back to pick up with Batwoman. You know, there's just some really beautiful page layouts in here. You know, again, overall, this is a much stronger book than I think it's. I thought it was going to be, even despite the fact that it had someone as strong as Greg Rucka writing it. I still thought, well, maybe this is going to be, you know, not too great. But I mean, it focuses on the grit and the grime and all the things that Greg Rucka is so good at. So, I mean, it's just, you know, I really think this is, you know, and yet Frank Castle hasn't said a word in either issue. So, I mean, this is really, you know, it's still really strong. I liked the ending of issue 1 a lot. I mean, as far as the kind of B story where it reveals the ties between the Punisher and Detective Bolt. But you know, that it's still, this is still going really strong. And like I said, I actually like this issue better than the first issue. The first issue was a little too short, in my opinion. So yeah, just going to do a brief rundown of Kick-Ass 2, number 3. Very an entertaining and interesting issue. I like how the world of these superheroes is evolving. That more people are getting, you know, that it's not just, okay, we're going out and fighting crime. There are actually people doing responsible things you can actually see real human beings doing. But then once it, you know, gets into the ultra violence, then that's where we're like, okay, time to cringe a little. And Miller and Romita Jr., I mean, you know, what can you say? You know, despite the fact that, you know, this book consistently comes out late, it's still always strong, always good, always entertaining, and always has just a little bit more than your fair share of shock value. So, again, good stuff from Miller and JR Jr. So, anyway, that's it for this segment. We'll be back, and we'll do some more comics from 2 weeks ago. So, see you in a bit.